this special International Yoga Festival, missing the presence of all of you here on the holy banks of Mother Ganga so much, so deeply, remembering and holding so deeply in our hearts these moments, these memories of all of us here doing yoga together, singing together, celebrating together, praying together, meditating together, being transformed together. But we also know that time will be with us again. We will be able, hopefully next year, to be together in each other's physical presence, hand in hand, heart in heart, hugging, loving, dancing, celebrating, yoga mats lined up, side by side, meditation cushions next to each other. But for right now, it's so beautiful to be re-reminded of that connection through these tools of technology. The wires, the cameras, the computers, all of that we're using to come together. It hasn't connected us. People say, oh, thank God for Zoom, thank God for the technology. It's connected us. All it's done is been this fantastic medium for the connection that already exists. All these wires, these cameras, this software, the waves of the internet do is they give us the opportunity to experience a connection that already exists. And what for me is so beautiful about that is the medium of being connected is already there. Right now we're using waves of electricity, waves of the internet, technology, of cameras, of computers. But our sages, our saints, our rishis have been telling us for thousands and thousands of years, you are connected. We are connected. Just go within. Use the technology, the science of meditation. Use the technology, the science of introspection, of jnana, of wisdom, of prayer, of spiritual connection to know that we're together. Go beneath just this one channel of existence to the deeper channel in which we are already together and connected. So thanks to Zoom, thanks to cameras, thanks to computers, thanks to the internet for giving us an easier medium to re-remember our connection. And this is so important because the rates of depression, of anxiety, of turmoil, of addiction, of domestic violence, of all of these symptoms, of systems, inner systems that have gone awry. The rates of all of these have skyrocketed during the pandemic. And that's where it's so important for all of us to re-remember how connected we are inside and to re-remember our inner technology of oneness and to re-remember the importance and the gift of connection and community. There's a beautiful line in the prayers that we chant here every morning at Paramarth Nikatan that says, Tu akele nahi pyare, Ram tere saath mein. It means you are never alone. You are never alone. God is always with you. And here we are together in this pandemic, in what we pray, we hope is sort of the last phase of the pandemic, in that which is simultaneously this tragedy and also this blessing. Because the tragedy we know, it's been a tragedy of lives, of health, of economies, physical health, mental health. But it's also been a blessing because it has forced us, those of us with the luxury to have 4 walls into which to go, those of us with the luxury to know where our next meal is coming from. It has forced us to look within for that source of comfort, for that source of connection, for that source of inner stability, for that source of inner health. And it's not easy. No one ever said it's easy. So many of us have always said, oh, I don't have time to meditate. I don't have time to do yoga. I wish I had time. Wish I had time to meditate more. Wish I had time to do more yoga. Wish I had time to study the scriptures. The universe handed us this time in our own caves. But it's not easy. Sadhana is never easy. And that spiritual strength, that spiritual resilience that the sages and the saints and the rishis had to have living literally in caves, literally without food, literally, as my guru Pujya Swamiji had to do, of standing on one leg in tree pose 11 hours a day. Not easy. But we've been told from the beginning, sadhana is not easy. Spiritual practice, tapas, not easy. Fulfilling our dharma, not easy. The teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, the teachings of our scriptures always emphasize, not easy, and yet essential. Because ultimately that is actually what we are here to learn and here to do. And so as we experience the inevitable, depression, anxiety, loneliness, stress, and it is, on so many levels, inevitable. Whether it's short-term, long-term, this is a time of stress. It is pretty inevitable that all of us are going to be impacted by it in some way or another at some point during this time. So the most important first piece is understand that stress, that depression, that anxiety, that restlessness, that anger is normal and natural. This is the time to have compassion for ourselves, to understand, yes, stress, yes, depression, yes, frustration, but not as a jail that we're stuck in, just as an energetic field that we happen to be part of in this moment, as the most natural chemical, electrical reactions in our physical brains, interacting with the mind, interacting with our emotional state, our feeling state. It happens. We react. Things are not how we want them to be. Things are uncertain. Things are out of our control. Not how we want them to be. And as those things are not as we want them to be, we react. We're frustrated, we're angry. They go on and on, out of our control. No end in sight, uncertainty. We become depressed, we become stressed, we become anxious. We're alone, disconnected. That has very, very deep ramifications, consequences inside of us. So understand, first of all, it is natural. And have that compassion for yourself that you would have for your children, that you would have for others who are experiencing the same in their lives. Have that compassion and love for yourself. A lot of us from the beginning have berated ourselves for feeling depressed, frustrated, stressed. And then of course that just adds to it. Why are you stressed? You shouldn't be stressed. You should be meditating. You should be doing yoga. You should be being enlightened during this time. You're not making the right use of this time. So then we get more stressed. So number one, compassion and love for the self. Understanding that there is this energy right now, this field that we are in right now of stress, and that each of us is going to respond to that in a different way. But also, along with that, to understand and remember that we have power here. We're not victims of it. That which is happening in the outer world doesn't have to determine our inner state. We have the power to change how we think, to change how we react, to change how we respond, and therefore to get ourselves out of that depression, that stress, that loneliness, that frustration. But it takes doing it. It takes making a commitment and doing it. We know that thoughtless action done without our proper thoughts, leads in many cases to problems. When we act or we speak without thinking, we get ourselves in trouble. But the flip side is also a problem. Actionless thought. When we have a thought, but we don't actually implement it. When we have an awareness that we should be living in a different way, but we don't actually implement it, we get ourselves in just as much trouble. Because not only do we not allow ourselves to create change, but we also, even more detrimentally, we create this sense within our own mind that we are people who don't do what we say we're going to do. So if you decide that, okay, from tomorrow, I am going to meditate. I am going to get up in the morning. I'm going to set an alarm. But every morning when that alarm goes off, you hit the snooze button, you go back to sleep, and you don't get up. Not only do you miss the meditation time, but you also create a sense of identity within the self that I am the type of person who doesn't do what I say. I am the type of person who makes commitments and I don't follow through with them. So we have to engage in thoughts that lead to actions, in the same way that we commit to thinking before we act. So when we have a thought, when we have a commitment, I am going to meditate, I am going to do yoga, I am going to reconnect spiritually, I am going to reconnect in other ways that I can do even during the time of the pandemic. Do it. Even on a small scale. But every step that you take actually leads to a change in our brains and our way of thinking about ourselves that actually makes us more likely to act on our thoughts in the future. So that is the second very important piece. So number 1, compassion and love for the self. Give yourselves a break. It's been a really difficult year. And number 2, we have the power to change the inner world. But we have to do it through thoughtful action and actionful thought. Number 3, the thoughts are the most important, because from that thought leads to the action. But so many of our thoughts are things that just automatically come and we don't pay any attention to them. We jump on them. So a thought comes of depression, or rather of something that's going to lead us to depression. So a thought comes of helplessness or hopelessness, comparing ourselves unfavorably to those we see on Facebook or Instagram. A thought comes, a negative thought about the self, a negative judgment about the self. A thought comes telling us that we aren't going to be able to do what we want to do, that nothing is ever going to be better, that everything is going to be miserable. Or a thought comes that says, it's not fair. Or a thought comes that says, I'm not smart enough, good enough, beautiful enough, young enough, old enough, powerful enough, spiritual enough. And we jump on those thoughts, and they lead us into these destinations of misery. So when the thought comes, realize that the thought is a vehicle. It's a plane, it's a bus, it's a train, it's a car, and it's taking you to a destination. Now, so many of these thoughts that we jump on lead us to destination misery, destination hopelessness, destination helplessness, destination depression, destination alcoholism, drug addiction, facing a chocolate cake, conflict within our families. And we know that because we've jumped on these thoughts so many times in our lives. They're not new. This is a new situation. But if you actually look at the thoughts, you'll realize they're just different versions of the same types of thoughts we've had our whole lives. How many times are you going to jump on the same thought, leading you to the same misery? If you were sitting at an airport, at the gate, waiting for your flight, and before your flight, another plane was at the gate agent is saying, last call, boarding now. And you say, where's this plane going? And she says, oh, that plane's headed to hell, headed to misery, headed to depression. Would you get on it? Just because it's there at the gate? Of course not. You'd say, oh, thanks. I'm going to wait for my plane instead. If someone says to you, hey, guess what? Free ticket, here it is. Beautiful, beautiful train, first class. you'd say to them, where's it going? And if they say, oh, it's going to misery, it's going to depression, would you get on it? Of course not. And then they'd say, oh, but there's a free bar, great entertainment, super plush seats, and it's free. You still wouldn't go. Because you'd say, well, I don't want to go where it's headed. In the same way, when we get on these thoughts of judgment, of comparison, of helplessness, of hopelessness, when we jump onto these thoughts as they come into our mind and we allow them to just carry us, we're getting onto vehicles, headed places we don't want to go. So remember, when a thought comes, you have the power. You have that veto to decide, I'm going to get on it or not. Learn to see the thoughts as they come. Ah, thought of jealousy. Ah, thought of judgment. Ah, thought of hopelessness, helplessness. Ah, patterned thought. And wave to it. Just like you'd wave to a plane that you're not getting on, or you'd wave to a bus at a bus stop that you're standing at, and not your bus comes by. You don't get on it just because it's there. In the same way, realize that you have power over your thoughts. You have power over what vehicle, thought vehicle you get on. And as you don't want to get on them, wave, namaste, thanks for dropping by, but I'm not going to get on it. We are not Pavlov's dogs who just respond to stimuli. We have power. That's what yoga gives us. It's what meditation gives us, is that space in our own minds to be able to see patterns of thought that come, patterns of reaction that come, and to make a choice. One of my favorite personal practices is just ask yourself the very simple question, is there an alternative? As you begin to react, as the mind starts to judge, to compare, to berate yourself, to tell yourself you aren't enough, or you don't have enough, or you don't do enough, your life isn't enough. As it starts to tell you that, see it. Create that space. Realize you are the one aware of the thought, which means you're not the thought. If you're aware of it, you have the power to go with it or not go with it. And practice gratitude. To me, this practice of gratitude is one of the most powerful tools out of the depression, the anxiety, the stress, the frustration. If you have a roof over your head, if you have food in the fridge or the opportunity to put food in your fridge, if you have water coming out of a tap that you can turn on, if you have legs that carry you into a bathroom, into a shower, if you have eyes that can see, ears that can hear, arms that can feed yourself, hug yourself, until the time we can hug others. You are so blessed. You are more fortunate than the overwhelmingly vast percentage of the world. You're in the top tiny, tiny, tiny percentage of the world. Don't think about it to make yourself feel bad. Don't say, oh, I should be grateful because. No. Just actually find something you can be grateful for. Is it the four walls? Is it the food? Is it the water? Is it someone or something you can love who loves you? A person, a pet, a tree in your backyard? Doesn't matter. Find someone, something to love. Someone, something you can be grateful for. Because in gratitude and in love, we expand. And expansion is our true self, our true nature. Stress causes us to contract. We become smaller, literally. Our way of thinking, our hearts, our beings, our experience of self. And love causes us to expand. And expansion, expansiveness rather, is the truth of who we are. The soul, the spirit, our hearts are boundless, infinite. That is the truth of who we are. So anything and everything you can do to experience that state of expansion is going to take you back into an experience of the true self. Find that opportunity to love. Choose love in every minute and every moment, regardless of what is happening outside. Not to be disconnected from it. We must, in fact, be within it, act within it, serve as much as we can, stand up, fulfill our duty, our dharma in this world in which we live. But we must also remember our own minds are co-creators of this world that we're living in. We're not victims of it. We're not independent of it. We're not separate from it. We are actually co-creating it with our own thoughts, our own ways of living. So choose love. Choose love in every minute and every moment. If you can't love the situation, love yourself, who is in this situation. And in the love for yourself, find the place of peace. Find the place of connection. And in your love for yourself, recognize that yourself doesn't end here. We are one. The same spirit runs through all of us. It's said so beautifully, Vasudev Kutumbakam. It means the world is a family. We are connected. Whether you think about it on the level that there is nothing but soul, nothing but spirit, nothing but God, and we are all just waves of the divine ocean. Or whether you think about it as us all as members of the world family. However you think about it, we are connected. And by the way, both of those are true. They're just different channels on the same reality. We are all waves of the same ocean. that same spirit, that same soul, that same divinity, that same consciousness on the highest and deepest level. And on another channel, another turn of the knob of channels, we are one family, sisters and brothers of the sacred creator, in the sacred creation. And what that means is that we need to live recognizing that our self doesn't end here. Our self extends into all. And therefore, the choices that we make, how we live, how we eat, how we shop, how we dress, how we do business, how we act, impacts our own self here and our self outside. It impacts Mother Earth. It impacts Mother Nature. It impacts our sisters and brothers all around the world, living in so many different circumstances. And so realize that every minute and every moment, you have the opportunity to live yoga, to live ahimsa, to live satya, to live all of the yamas and the niyamas as that foundation of yoga. And what that does, not only does it make you more of an asset to Mother Earth, but it makes you experience the truth of who you are, which is one with all. That's what yoga means, union. And when we actually experience that union, and we know that union, and we live that union, then we realize we're not separate. We're not alone. And in that awareness, the depression, the anxiety, the restlessness, the frustration, it all begins to dissipate. Because we actually experience the connection with all, the oneness with all. And then, of course, we carry ourselves upward through all of the sacred limbs of yoga. There's not time to go into all of that now, but maybe in another session. We carry ourselves up through that, through asana, through pranayama, up, into samadhi, into that actual experience of the truth of who we are, which is one. One with the divine and one with all. In these moments that we hope will be the beginning of the end of the pandemic, where so many of us are physically separate, let us keep using this time to strengthen our own inner connection. Because when the pandemic is over and we're able to be back interacting together, you don't want to again say, oh, I wish I had time to meditate. I wish I had time to do yoga. I wish I had time to have those experiences. Now is the time. The universe has given you a cave. Utilize it. Utilize it for that experience, awareness, knowing, truth that is yoga. Let us all together close our eyes and allow your awareness to pull from the world outside into the world inside. Draw the awareness to the breath. Don't try to change it. Don't manipulate it. Just allow the awareness to merge with the breath as it flows in and flows out. Like the waves of the ocean, flowing onto the shore from the sea and receding back into the depths of the ocean. Allow the awareness to merge with that breath as the waves flow in and recede back. If thoughts come or sensations come, don't fight them off, but don't allow your awareness to get grabbed by them. Just keep drawing the awareness back to the breath. And allow the thoughts or the sensations, whatever comes, allow it to just blow across your consciousness like wispy clouds blow across a blue sky on a windy day. Keeping the awareness on the blue sky between the clouds. Keeping the awareness anchored in the breath as it flows in and flows out. As you breathe, notice whether there are places in the body, the physical body or the energetic body, where the breath doesn't flow so easily. Notice if there are places that feel stuck or contracted. Don't judge it. Don't analyze it. Don't tell yourself a story about it. But just allow the awareness to hold that place ever so gently, so that as the breath flows in and out, those waves of sacred life force, sacred prana, can gently begin to flow into the places that are stuck. Just allow your awareness to hold them. And feel the breath flow into those places, being held with gentle awareness. Like the waves of the sea flowing up onto the shore between the rocks, into every nook and cranny. Feel the waves of the breath flowing in and through you. And allow that awareness to stay merged in the breath. You can add a simple mantra to it. On the inhalations, you can chant silently to yourself, so. And on the exhalations, hum. So, hum. It means I am that. I am one with the universe. I am one with the Creator. I am one with the creation. I am that. I am all. So keeping the awareness merged into the breath as it flows in and flows out. Be sure to keep the physical body very still. Holding the physical body absolutely still, and the awareness anchored in the breath. Allow yourself to begin to experience that border between inner and outer starts to dissolve. We're breathing from the outer to the inner and exhaling from the inner to the outer, but slowly holding the awareness anchored in the breath and the physical body still. Allow yourself to begin to experience that there is no inner and there is no outer. There's only breathing. Just the waves of the breath and the awareness of the breathing. Allow that border of the self to dissolve into the waves of the breath. Until there is nothing but the breath. And the awareness of the breath. Ever so gently, bring the palms of your hands together at chest level. Rub the palms of your hands gently against each other. and press them into your closed eyes. Slowly open your eyes into the palms of your hands and lower your hands. So much love to all of you, and looking so forward to welcome you all back here and to be together, meditating, uniting here on these sacred banks of Mother Ganga. And until then, know we are together. There is no place. Each of us ends and the other begins. We are one.